Okay, we are live. So as I was saying before, systems of equations, you already had a chance last night to do one type of systems of equations. It's such a powerful concept. It can be used in all different kinds of word problems. But I just thought I'd show you another type where it's sort of using a thing called the total value formula. And it's not like an actual formula like, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's not like that kind of a formula. It's just it's an approach that you need to understand. And so that we're going to look at this approach. The question says, Henry feels incredibly rich. He has a total of 23 nickels and dimes. That does not mean 23 nickels and 23 dimes. It means a total of 23 coins made up of nickels and dimes, okay? And they are worth $1.35. Woohoo! How many of each coin does he have? All right. So Thorne immediately knows, because this is the kind of thing he deals with all the time, right? No. Yeah. Do you have a question or a comment or a thought?
Is this question possible?
Yes, it is possible,
No,
and it's magical. I think it's so magical the way we're going to work this out. Yeah, it's totally possible. It's totally possible. I mean, just think about it. Dimes, if they were all dimes, then it would be, $2.30. If it was all nickels, it'd be half of $2.30, which is whatever that is, which would be less than $1.35, right? So my guess is most of it's going to be nickels, and there's going to be just a few dimes. And we could always use the guess and check method, right? We could say, okay, 21 nickels and something dimes, figure it out. Or 20 nickels and something dimes, and you just figure it out until you get it right.
It could be 21 nickels and 3 dimes.
Maybe.
Oh, but then that would be 24 over again.
So yeah, right, exactly. But anyway, so you can always try that method, but the algebraic method is actually a great method to learn. That's the whole goal I'm trying to get you to do, is to think algebraically, set them up as problems that you can solve and prove mathematically, as opposed to the guess and check method. On a test sometimes, if you don't know how to do something like this, if you're ever taking a test and it was multiple choice, you could always go to A, B, C, and D and see, well, does this add up to that, right? You could always go backwards, start from the answers and go backwards to see if you get what it should be, right? And that would be another method of checking your guess and check method, right? But yeah.
I think it's 19 nickels and 4 dimes.
Okay, so we have a guesstimate. We'll just write that down. So we have 19 nickels and 4 dimes. All right, we'll see. We'll see if this is Graham's guess. We'll see if he's right. All right, so first of all, I just want to talk about two things. We're going to set this up as a systems of equations again, okay? And we are going to be creating 2 equations then. Okay, so we're going to look for 2 equations. 2 equations. The first equation is going to be the number of coins, right? The number of coins. An equation relating the number of coins. That's the first one. And the second one is going to be the value of the coins. So you have 2 equations. One's the number of the coins. The second equation is the value of the coins. Now, when you set these up, when we're talking nickels, what variable would you use, Weston?
If we're talking about nickels?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean?
What variable could you use to represent nickels?
Oh,
N. Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Okay, so if we're talking nickels, so first of all, let's talk quantity. All right, the number or the quantity of coins, number of coins, right? Number of coins or quantity of coins, number of coins. If it's nickels, we will use N. If it is dimes, you're on a roll, Weston. What would you use for dimes?
D.
D. Now, just in case, there's not quarters in this one, but it's okay. If there were quarters, Henry, what would you use for your variables? How about Q, right? Q. That way it's really easy to remember which is which, right? All right, now, when we start talking about the value of coins, this is the number of coins, right? What is the value of a nickel?
5 cents.
5 cents. So when I'm talking about a nickel or nickels, I could say 5N, right? Think about that. 5 cents times the number of nickels. Does that make sense? If I had 2 nickels, I'd have 5 times 2, I'd have 10 cents. Does that make sense? If I had 10 nickels, I'd have 50 cents, right?
So each nickel equals 5?
Yes, so it makes, yeah, every nickel always equals 5 cents. So if you have the number of nickels times the value of that nickel, you have actually the value of the total number of nickels you have, right? Yeah, what about dimes? What would you put for value? This is value, right? Value of dimes would be,
10.
so what would I put?
10D.
10D. Always 10D. That's what makes this so easy. You're going to find this is like so easy to do. It's so fun. All right, and then what about quarters? What would you put for quarters?
25.
Quarters. 25Q, right? So if you have a D, it's always a 10 in front of it if you're talking value. If you have a Q, it's always a 25 in front of it. Always. No exceptions. If you have an N, it's always a 5 in front of it if you're talking value. Okay? So, given that information, let's do this. So, let's start with the quantity of coins, or the number of coins he has. What does it say about the number of coins? What can you figure out?
He has 23 of nickels and dimes.
So how could you write that as an equation?
23 N slash D.
No. It would be 5N plus 10D equals 23.
Okay,
Or something
but think
like
about
that.
what you're doing. You're confusing number of coins or quantity of coins versus value of coins. I'm not even talking about value. You're suddenly trying to get the 5 and the 10 and the 25 in front of the variables. But that's only if you're talking value. We're not talking value, we're talking the numbers. Whenever you see nickels for numbers, it's N. Whenever you see dimes for numbers, it's D. So now, what would you write? Number of dimes. Okay, yes, Aiden.
You could, since there's 2 nickels and a dime,
You're making it way harder, you guys, than
look, you could do,
What does N stand for? It stands for the number of nickels.
Wouldn't it be like
D stands for the number of dimes, and we don't know what they are. But we do know that all together they equal what?
N plus D equals 23?
Yes, that's it. And the number of nickels, right? You were making it way too hard.
Oh!
You guys, right? D, or N plus D equals 25. The number of nickels plus the number of dimes equals 23. What did I say? 25. So we got N, number of nickels, plus the number of dimes is equal to 23. That's pretty straightforward, right? Isn't that pretty easy? So all of these are going to be like that. You're going to have the quantity first. You're not going to have any 5, 10s, or 25s in front of anything. It's just going to be N plus D equals 23, the total number of coins. Now we're going to go to the value. But this was the quantity. That was the number of coins. Now look, this is the value. This is what they're worth. So let's create an equation now for the value. Okay. All right, Graham, I'll give you another chance.
N plus D equals $1.35. Or 135 cents.
N plus D. But N stands for the number of nickels.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't stand for the value of nickels. Stay with me. Stay with me. Look up here. This is what you write when you're talking the equation for number of nickels. This is what you write when you're talking about the value of nickels. Okay, so say it again. What would it be?
5N plus 10D equals 135 cents.
You guys get that?
Yes.
5N. So now we're like value 5 times n, that's 5 cents times n, plus 10 cents times the d, the number of dimes, is equal to, and how would I write that? 135. It'd be better to write it as cents than as dollars. Okay? So equals 135 cents. Wow. Suddenly now we have two equations. All right? So get out your notebook so you can start writing some of this down. Okay? So systems of equations. Now, you're also going to find that these are incredibly easy to solve because a lot of times you have a 10 in it, right? Because a lot, you know, if there's dimes, everybody knows what 10 times 23 is, don't you? 230, right? I don't know what 5 times 23 is. It wouldn't be hard to figure out. But 10 I know really, really well. So to me, it would be easier to just multiply this times negative 10. Don't you agree with me? Don't you think that'd be really easy? I wouldn't need a calculator or anything. So I'd have negative 10n, and I'm just going to write it down here. So negative 10n minus 10d is equal to negative 230.
Wait, would it be 260?
10 times 23. So whenever you multiply 10 times anything, you just add a 0 after it. 23 plus a 0, 230. So now I'm going to add them together. I have negative 5n's, right? The d's cross out, equals, is it going to be positive or negative? It's going to be negative, right? The bigger number is negative. The signs are different. I'm just adding or subtracting. So I'm going to have this keep the sign of the bigger number, so it's going to be negative. And then I'm just going to put the bigger number first and subtract the littler number, right? So that becomes a 2. That's a 10. So that's 5. It becomes a 1. That's a 12. 95. So negative 95. 5n is equal to negative 95. I'm going to divide by negative 5. Divide by negative 5. These cross out. The negative divided by negative cross out. I just draw a line through it to make it positive. 95 divided by 5. Anybody know what? 19. Notice Graham is very attached to that number 19. 19. The number of nickels is 19. Oh my God, Graham is half right. Right? This part's right. He was right. But it's sad to say that he might not be right on the dimes.
No, he's right on the dimes.
How do you know?
Because.
Oh, because. Oh, because. Oh, yes, that's why.
This is elimination. 19 plus 4 is 23, and if 19 is correct, then
You're right. You're right. Okay, so you can, exactly. So you could actually substitute this back into the first equation. Why? Because. Right? Right? So 19 plus d is equal to 23. Subtract 19. D is equal to 4. So yes, so D, the number of dimes, is equal to 4. All right, give Graham a round of applause.
Yeah!
Come on, round of applause. And we got to give Gabe a round of applause for his amazing theory. Right, okay. So does it make sense? So let's just review really quickly. If I said like Abby has 40 coins, and they're made up of nickels, dimes, and quarters, what would be the equation? Nickels, dimes, and quarters, and she has 40 of them. Right, that would be the number. Well, and let's say it was valued at $100. What would be your other equation for value?
N5 plus D.
5n plus
5n plus 10d plus 25q equals how much was it?
$100.
$100.
Right.
Whoa.
Well, so right. I mean, obviously I'm doing it. I'm just throwing it in. But I just want to be sure. How many? Fist to 5. Are you understanding this? Making sense to you? Awesome. All right. So I'm going to pass these out now. You're going to have 5 minutes to get started on it. Okay? And there's only 4 more problems because I wasted half the page with all this stuff. So you don't. It's not a very huge assignment tonight.